Alright, this video is going to go over the fundamentals of a good ADF standard push-up. I'm also going to tell you my take on a good push-up and how they should be conducted. So I'm just going to roll them all into the one. So let's have a look at a few good reps here. Alright, so now I'm just going to go over what a good top position looks like. So that's called the push-up up position. Then I'm going to go over what a good bottom position looks like, which is the push-up down position, and then how to transition in between the two while holding good positions. So the push-up up position, or the top position, the very first thing you need to worry about when you're doing them during a test is your feet cannot be any more than 30 centimeters apart. So they can be together or a little bit apart, no more than 30 centimeters. Okay, so looking from the side here, you can notice that my hands are underneath my shoulders. Now this has nothing to do with the standards. I've seen people have their hands way out in front. This is just getting you in a much better position, much healthier for your shoulders, and eventually you'll be able to do more push-ups this way. So looking from the side, your hands should be underneath your shoulders or even slightly back from them. Only ever so slightly. What you don't want is them forwards, because it just stems into a whole heap of other faults that I'll go over in a different video. But yeah, get those hands underneath your shoulders looking from the side. Now another thing from the side, you'll notice that I'm in a nice straight line right from my heel all the way up to my head. So there's no big dip in my lower back. There's no drop in my head. Everything's in a nice neutral position. I get into this position by switching my core on, so bring my belly button up towards my spine, switching my glutes on, trying to tilt my pelvis back like that. With everything locked in, you try to act and tilt your pelvis back in that direction, and it'll really lock in your core. It'll switch your glutes on. You'll feel a big difference. Now up in the upper part of my body, I am pressing into the ground. I'm actively pressing into the ground and switching everything on and locking everything in. My head and eyes are in a neutral position, looking slightly ahead. Now with my hands, what I'm doing is I'm actually trying to corkscrew them into the ground slightly. Corkscrew them outwards. And you'll see that my elbows are slightly pointing at a 45-degree angle backwards rather than directly out to the side. What this does is it locks everything in nice and tight in here. You'll feel your lats switch on and you'll feel everything sit in a really nice strong position in your shoulders. All right, that is a really important part to get you sitting in a good position right from the start. Now if you look at this top image here, you can see that my hands are just outside my shoulders. Now there's no problem with you having your hands inside your shoulders, but you're not going to get many reps out of it because it puts you in a shitty position and it makes those push-ups harder. Okay, now you can also have your hands wider. This has got nothing to do with the Defense Force standards, but if you have your hands out in that wider position and you do rep after rep after rep and over a prolonged period, that can cause a few issues in your shoulders, because with your hands out in that wide position, it puts a lot more strain in that structure of the shoulder, and it can cause some issues. So the best position is just to have them slightly outside your shoulders, just giving you enough room to get down nice and low and still be in a good position to do as many reps as you can. So that's the top position. Now we're going to go over the bottom position, which is the push-up down position. Now with the standards for the Defense Force, as you should know, you need to be at least parallel with your upper arm with the ground or lower. So by that, it is, here's your forearm, here's your upper arm. It needs to be parallel with the ground, so there's the ground, or lower. And as you can see, that mine is slightly lower. Right, so if you are above that line, you are not reaching the standards and your push-ups won't count. Now, when you're in this bottom position, you can see from this side angle here, I'm still in a nice straight line here. Nothing has changed. My core is still really switched on. Everything is still in a nice neutral position, including my head. Now, a big thing, well, this thing's drawing everywhere. Now, a big thing that I like to teach people with push-up is to try to aim for a vertical forearm in that bottom position. So if you look from the side here, this is what I'm talking about here, as vertical as possible. Now, some people have got different length limbs, so it makes it a little bit harder to actually get that position. But if you have a nice vertical forearm at the bottom, 9 times out of 10, it means you are hitting a good position with your shoulders and where everything should be sitting. Another benefit of it is when you're pressing into the ground, when you're doing your push-up, instead of overcoming, say if your forearm's going out like this, instead of having to, or even backwards as well, now you've got that extra lever that you've got to overcome. Rather than here, my upper arm is pressing more or less directly into the ground. So it's taken this joint out of play because I'm pressing straight into the ground rather than overcoming another lever there. So you can see that from the side and also from the front. It's relatively vertical. All right, another thing that you should note, when I'm in this bottom position, my elbows are pointing at a 45-degree angle backwards. You can see from the front here, right? They are not up against my body. If you put them up against your body, you will not get many reps because that's a tricep push-up. It's targeting the triceps, and it negates a lot of the muscles that can actually assist with the push-up. So it's going to make them harder. So 45-degree angle backwards, not up against your body, but also there's a fault called the chicken wing when you are putting your elbows directly out to the side. And again, like I was saying with those wider push-ups, this may not hurt you the first time you do it, but if you do it over and over and over and over again, you will eventually, the chicken wing is one of the main causes of shoulder problems at least in the army that I've seen. So many people I've seen with shoulder problems cannot do a good position push-up. So to get that good elbow position on the way, when you're in this bottom position here, that nice 45-degree angle backwards, you're keeping that tension that I was talking about at the top when you're corkscrewing your hands into the ground. You're keeping that in between, so when you're transitioning down into the bottom of the push-up. All right, so that's the bottom position. Now the transition in between the two. So we'll start at the top here. All right, I'm keeping, like I was saying, I'm keeping that tension, that torque in my shoulders it's not a massive amount. You don't have to put a ridiculous amount. Just as long as you're getting your elbows to point back that way slightly, you're going to be locking everything in a much better position and a much stronger position by doing this. So you're holding that, you're holding your core and everything's super tight, and you're going down into the push-up, into the bottom position, and nothing changes the whole way down. Once you hit that bottom position, everything remains in that same fixed position, and you are pressing up, keeping your elbows in that same direction until you hit that top position. And then once you've hit that top position, you are completely locking out and you are pressing into the ground. Because that's another part of the Army standards or Defense Force standards, is you must lock out in this top position. And it is one thing that a lot of people, when they're trying to do reps really quickly, they miss that lockout position, and you will get pinned for it, and your reps won't count. Okay, so that's the fundamentals of an ADF standard push-up, and as well as my little take thrown in there. So if you got any questions, make sure you just send me a message, and I'll be able to help you out. Hopefully this clears up a few things for you, and good luck with your push-up practice.